You always want to make kids feel good about themselves. If they feel good, they do good.
The topic today is just when you're in the thick of it, parenting through the chaos.
That's where a lot of the biggest battles happen. Tantrums around what they need is not a tantrum. It's letting you know they need food. They need to go to bed. So I put them to bed and I feed them. I meet their needs. I always meet their needs and manage their wants. When I talk about a tantrum, it's around their wants. He's not listening. He doesn't care what you say. He cares what you do. They need consistent corrective actions, not words. Welcome to the BratBusters Parenting Podcast. My name's Lisa Bunnage. I'm a parenting coach. I'm a mom. I'm also a grandmother.
And I'm Amy Bunnage, Lisa's daughter, and I handle the marketing and planning here at BratBusters. While I don't have kids, each episode will dive into real-world parenting topics and answer your questions. Let's get started.
Okay, sweetie, what are we talking about this time? And why are you giggling? She started giggling just as we turned our things on here. What?
Because you often do this where you go, okay, tell me when I should start, and then you just start it.
Without her telling you.
You just went for it.
Tell me when to go. Start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I do that. do. Okay. How immature am I? I know. I'm like a 64-year-old toddler. Okay. What is today's topic?
So the topic today is just when you're in the thick of it, parenting through the chaos, when things feel chaotic as a parent.
Okay. I don't know where we're going with this, but is this all questions from parents?
This will be a lot of questions because
Okay.
I do think this topic is something where you need the example
Yes, I
in
do.
order to kind of give
'Cause
your approach.
What kind of chaos are they going through? Have they got teenagers, toddlers, and what's going on? Okay.
I think just before we start, if this is someone's first podcast, do you want to explain a little bit about calm leadership?
Okay, calm leadership to me is that you deal with bad behavior, but you focus on the good kid. You always want to make kids feel good about themselves. If they feel good, they do good. That's it. High self-esteem, pride, and have a lot of laughs. Laughter, fun, joy. That is always it's always my go-to with everybody. I like laughing. I like fun. I don't like drama. I don't like negativity. I like to have fun, and kids do too.
I think as well, if this is your first podcast, I do recommend listening to the very first one, Example of Leadership Parenting, because that includes the pool story in there.
The pool story sums it up.
Yeah. Okay. We'll
Really
just get
well.
right into
Okay.
the questions.
Perfect.
So Nicole from Australia. My daughter is 2.7 months. I struggle every morning getting her dressed. It's turning a quick job into a struggle every day. I've tried giving choices on what to wear, tried letting her pick what to wear, tried making it into a game to see how quick she can get dressed. The only thing that works is timeout time, which I don't want to do, but it works.
Yeah, I don't like timeout. I would get rid of it. Even if it works in the moment, yelling works in the moment too. I don't like that either. So does spanking. I don't like any of those. So I'd get rid of all that. But so if she just doesn't like getting dressed, unfortunately, I would physically just get her dressed anyway. I don't care if she's got pants on her head and a t-shirt on her foot. I would get those clothes on her. I'd say, well, it's time to get dressed. When I say that, those clothes are going on. Once I've said something, make it happen. Follow through. Don't give her choices. She's too little. Why does she need to choose what she wears? You don't need to give her choices with stuff that she needs to do. Give her choices with stuff that doesn't matter, like games. What game do you want to play? What book do you want to read? Not what outfit do you want to wear? Then you're just inventing a problem for yourself. Then she's going to take forever trying to decide what outfits. Then you're going to put her in one. No, I want the other one. You see what you're doing? You're setting yourself up for a big scene. So yeah, don't give them choices with stuff that's important. Only give them choices with stuff that really doesn't matter. So, but yeah, I wouldn't give her a choice in what she wears. I said, okay, time to get dressed. And then I get them dressed. I don't care what kind of wrestling match it is. I'm getting them dressed. Once I've said it, it's happening. That's why my kids never fought me, because they knew when mom said something, they didn't even fight because it was like, oh, what's going to happen? You see? But when we were playing, then they were in charge.
Yeah, I think you talk about that sometimes with your top 5 tips. Just hear me out. I'm circling back to it. But the top 5 tips for parenting toddlers that you had, the first one is the child-proof your home. When you talk about the idea of child-proofing so that you don't have to be continually saying no all the time, I think some people feel like they don't want to do that in the sense of they want their kids to learn. But I think your reasoning is, why are you making your life harder than it has to be? Is that the idea?
Exactly. Like I just wanted to be able to relax and enjoy my children. That's why I child-proofed. I never wanted to have to follow them into another room. I never wanted them to brush their teeth with a toilet brush, like I heard a friend used to let their kids do that. Can you believe it? I told him not to when he got in the toilet brush again. I'm like, he's 1.5. What do you expect? I just don't think those lessons are necessary. And the funny thing is that because my kids weren't used to getting into stuff, when I took them out, they were some of the least precocious kids you saw, because they weren't used to getting into stuff. And I just wanted to make my life easier. You talk about chaos, talk about making sure you don't have any. That was my goal. I was managing the situation. I'm in control here. I wanted to make sure that I could just relax and read a book, and they could go around the whole house at pretty much any age, and everything was childproof. Everything was bolted down or waist above the waist.
And to circle back, though, I just want to talk about the idea of choosing outfits. I can only speak from my own experience, but I felt like I had autonomy in my childhood, and I don't think I chose a lot of my outfits.
No, not the stuff that mattered, but you had a lot of autonomy. You could choose what sports you wanted to do. You could choose what play center we were going to go to, all the fun stuff. She chose all the fun stuff, but I chose all the when you're brushing your teeth, what you're going to wear, what we're going to eat. I chose all that stuff because that's where a lot of the biggest battles happen. I chose when they went to bed. You know what I mean? But all the fun stuff. What do you want to do today? Can we go there? Sure.
I didn't even know that all those other things had a choice attached to them.
That's right.
It's kind of like the way the sun goes up and the sun goes down. I just thought it was the same thing. It just happened.
Mom chooses our clothes, and that's just what happens. Is there another way? They had no clue. That I remember something like that happened where you kids were a mom was fighting with. We were at a friend's house, and I can't remember the situation, but the kid kept saying, "No, I don't want that. I want that one. No, I want that one. No," it was probably around food. And I remember you kids just looking at them like it was crazy. Like, what are you doing? Whereas the parents were allowing them to choose whatever it was. And it was just ended up being a big battle. It was something that was so unnecessary. Like, just put it on the table. They can just eat, Whereas my kids, I fed them around what I knew they already liked. It's not like I was putting liver and onions in front of them, but I fed them what I knew they liked anyway. But I didn't let them choose what I was making for dinner or anything like that, because then they would have just been more fussy. I didn't want that. So I didn't get that kind of talk because they didn't know there was an option.
Okay, we'll go into the next question. So Mina from Sweden. My son is 2.5, and he usually throws tantrums if he's sleepy, hungry, or tired. For example, he throws a tantrum if my husband comforts him during the night instead of me. My husband just usually assures him that he, our son, is safe and that he, him as a dad, is there, and the tantrum usually passes within a couple minutes. However, I remember Lisa mentioned how tantrums should be handled differently if the basic needs are not met for the children. So are we handling these situations correctly?
Well, tantrums around what they need is not a tantrum. It's letting you know they need food, they need to go to bed, so I put them to bed and I feed them. So I meet their needs. I always meet their needs and manage their wants. Most tantrums when I talk about a tantrum, it's around their wants, what they want. In the middle of the night, if you're going in there, I don't want to get into that whole bedtime battle stuff, but there's no need at 2.5 to go in the middle of the night. That's a whole other thing. So we're not really going into bedtime battles, but yeah, that's if he's having a tantrum in the middle of the night, even, I don't know. Okay. I would just go in there, put him back to bed. You're all right. And then walk out. And then if he screams, I'd let him scream. And I'd put probably a hall light on so he could get up. Every time he gets up, I'd walk him back to bed, but I wouldn't talk to him. Just keep slowly walking him back to bed. In other words, this is where you belong. You can stay there. I wouldn't be letting him get up in the middle of the night and at 2.5 and comforting him. I don't know why that's happening. Can't quite figure that one out.
So we have the next question is Emily from the United States. What is the best way to handle teasing? 7-year-old boy constantly teasing his 10-year-old sister. I typically send the 7-year-old to his room to play, telling him if he can't play nice, he can't play with others. But I feel this has created resentment towards his sister. They seem to really dislike each other and are fighting more and more. Any advice is appreciated.
Okay. He's the younger one. He's 7, she's 10. Younger siblings often tease. They'll do anything to get attention from the older one. So that's usually what it is. So he's teasing her to get attention, I'm assuming. And then she gets mad. She might hit him, which isn't her fault. It's his fault for trying to tease her and get her into it. So there's so many different ways you could deal with this. You could say, I don't know if she's starting it though, or is he starting it? I'm guessing he's starting it. because he's teasing. He's trying to get her attention. I would just say, I don't know what she's doing though. That's kind of a hard one. I need more information on that one. Let's say she's sitting there, I don't know, coloring or drawing, doing some artwork, and he comes in and he starts teasing her. Here's what I would say. I would say to the 10-year-old, and I'd say to both of them, by the way, if you don't want him bothering you, you just say, please don't bother me. And as soon as you've said that, and you say to the 7-year-old, if you keep bothering her after she said that, there will be a consequence. Okay, so do it that way. That's a good way to do it. So she has sort of a safety word, like, please don't bother me. You know what's going to happen. She's going to use it all the time he comes anywhere near her. So just be aware of that, but you can start with that and then see where it goes from there. But yeah, please don't bother me. If he keeps bothering her, then he gets a consequence. And you can, I know the way that you can solve it if she keeps overusing it. Say, if you keep overusing that just because he walks into a room, then you'll get a consequence. But you got to be watching them. Parents say, I don't have time to watch them. Unfortunately, when you're learning how to do this, you have to be diligent. Anyway, how does that sound? I just made that one up. I think that's a good one. Yeah, please don't bother. It's a safety word.
The next question is Madison from Canada.
The reason we're laughing is I just said something I thought was funny. And then I said, you're going to cut that out, aren't you? And she goes, oh, yes. That's why we're laughing. Okay, go on.
Sorry about that one. So Madison from Canada. My son is 3 years old, turning 4 in June. He tends not to listen to me or his dad at all. If his dad asks him to stop doing something, he replies, "Stop, Daddy, you're repeating yourself," or he swears. He has gotten better recently, but he still says it frequently and without any hesitation. He says the F word in stores, in front of his aunts, uncles, grandparents. He goes to daycare 3 days a week. He starts school in September. He's not nice to other kids, hitting, taking toys, not sharing.
Okay, just start with a free behavior board and put down no hitting on there. And that's where you start. Just start with no hitting. He's totally out of control, this kid. He's totally in charge. You know it. He knows it. And he's not happy. Kids who act like that are miserable. Self-esteem's in the toilet. Where's his pride? He's got none. So leadership parenting, you want children to have high self-esteem and pride. You want them to like themselves. He ain't doing none of that right now. So you want to work on your leadership, which will that will teach him how to have pride, self-esteem, and he'll start liking himself. Just check out the free behavior board. And I would put no hitting as the first rule.
Okay. Taylor from the United States. I have a 2-year-old boy. While he is in his tantrum stages, he likes to scream and hit me in the process. I wait for the tantrum to be over and walk away when he hits me, but he will follow and continue to hit me. I've tried to redirect the behavior and tell him no when he does hit. Is there anything else I can do? I feel stuck and don't know what to do.
I never quite understand the word no, you thinking it's going to do anything. The only reason I say the word no is just to instigate the action. So it's actions that count. So I would say no, and then I would restrain him from hitting again. Hold him for a minute or so, then let go, and then just stand there looking the other way. And prevent any future hits by keep grabbing him and holding him. So you're teaching him it's not okay to hit people. You don't talk about it, though. He's not listening. He doesn't care what you say. He cares what you do. So just keep holding him every time he goes to hit and look away.
Okay.
And don't talk to him. Words are weak. Actions are strong.
Okay. Next question is Emily from Australia. I have one daughter who is 2.5, 32 months old. She's recently started hitting mainly me or furniture and throwing books when angry or upset. I've been gently holding her arms and saying no, the ignoring. We do a lot of playtime and quality time together, and it mainly happens if I'm talking to another person and on the phone, and she doesn't seem to care if I tell her to stop. I feel like she is old enough for a consequence, but I know you say over 3. Is it okay to do it earlier? She's incredibly verbal and will sometimes just return with what I have said to her in the past.
I would just what did you say in there? She said she only does it she really does it when you're talking to someone else. So yeah, she wants to be the center of attention. So what I would do is if she throws something, now you're not going to fix it all in one day. You're just going to have to sort of pick a battle. So when she throws stuff, I would say no, and I would put everything she's thrown away. And then I would also take additional toys and put them away, but put them where she can see them, but not touch them. And then you don't talk to her. And then you said she doesn't listen when I say stop. Again, that's all those empty words. You know you shouldn't do that. No, stop. None of that means anything. They need consistent corrective actions, not words. They need actions. And she is too young for the behavior board. They have to be able to stop and think before they act. Under the age of 3, they just can't. At 3, they're starting to learn how to do that. So yeah, I wouldn't use the behavior board yet. Some parents will use it just a month early. I found if they do it 2 months early, it doesn't work. So maybe a month early, but not more than that. But yeah, the word stop, no, you shouldn't do that. Why would you do this? That's just for you. They're not listening. It means nothing to them.
Okay, we have Taylor from Canada. I have a 3-year-old son. He quite often has temper tantrums for not getting his way. I'm learning to ignore it, and I feel like it's slowly getting better. However, in instances such as when he asked me to put on his watch, so I do, and then he wants it off, and so I take it off. Immediately after taking it off, he wants it on again. After going back and forth, on and off several times, I finally get tired and tell him whether it's on or off, I'm not taking it off or putting it on anymore, and then he throws a tantrum. Usually I will just ignore it, which is very hard as he pushes me, hits me, and does everything to get my attention. I stay firm and ignore him. After a few minutes, he will calm down, ask for a hug and kiss, which I tend to give him, which I give to him. My question is, this often happens before we need to leave the house. So how do I attempt to get his coat on and shoes on and then get him into the car if he's screaming and flailing? I feel like a terrible mother trying to force him to get his shoes and coat on during these instances.
Okay, he's got you trained. Why on earth, when he said to you, can you please put my watch on, or whatever he says, and then you put it on, then he says, take it off, that watch would not be coming off. Once they've said something, I say, no, it's on, and we're going. He's going to have a tantrum anyway. As soon as he said take it off, he's heading into the tantrum zone. The sooner you bring on that tantrum, the better. And then you ignore it, or just pick him up and carry him out to the car and buckle him in if you have to get going. There's no freaking way I would take that watch off once he's asked me to put it on, because I know he's just asking for a fight. That's all he's doing. And you said you put it on and off and on and off and on, and then you finally give up. Well, it's too late. He's already learned. He's got you trained like a seal. You will do it several times, hoping to avoid the scene. I know right away it's going to be a scene. Soon as they've asked me to do something, then they ask me to do the opposite. I don't do the opposite, because I know that's fighting words. Okay, he's pulling you into a fight. Yeah, that's all he's doing. So yeah, just drag him into the car with this tantrum going. If you have to, just ignore it. And then he wants a hug and a kit. No, don't do that. You don't console the tantrum. Makes it look like you feel bad about it. I don't give any attention to a tantrum. No, you're all right. That's not a love hug, by the way. That's a validate my rotten behavior. Validate me. That's all that is. Validate the on and off watch. That's all he's trying to do. He's trying to pull you in. He wants to be validated that he was correct. You see? You're feeding it. No, just say, oh, watch off. Nope, we're going now. And then as soon as he tantrums, I'm filing my nails if I have time, just ignoring him, or I'm just taking him into the car. I'm not talking to him, or I'm not looking at him. I'm not feeding that tantrum. Any attention is tantrum food. And right afterwards, I need a hug. No, he doesn't. That's not a love hug. Validate me. Validate me. Ah, you're all right. Let's get going. The less attention you give it, the better. You're feeding it. He's got you trained.
Okay, we have Teresa from the United States. My daughter just turned 3 and we started the behavior board. Her goal is to use her words instead of screaming at her brother when he tries to take her toys. What do we say, or what do we do when we are away from home?
What was her rule?
Her goal is to use her words instead of screaming at her brother.
Is that her rule on the behavior board? Is to use your words and not scream? Oh, you can't do that. No. In other words, respect your brother. No, that's too broad. It's too big of an ask. It's too vague. You can just, you have to put an action on there. The only words you can put on there is you can't put no screaming or anything, because that's all emotional based. You can't do that. It's like no getting crazy, no disrespecting me. That's all. You haven't earned that. Yeah. Just put down you can put down no swearing or no name calling. Those are the only things that they say that you can put down on that board. The rest of it is it's all actions. So what was the thing she wanted? Is use your words or something, and then what?
Instead of screaming at brother.
No, you can't tell
when
her
he
not
tries to take her toys.
No, yeah. You got to watch. Well, then his rule will be no taking her toy, no grabbing toys off your sister. That could be his rule.
What if he's 2?
He's 2. Oh, okay. Well, then you have to make sure he doesn't. That's your job. No, she is. Oh, she's just 3. Yeah, that's your job.
It didn't say the brother's 2, but let's say that.
Oh, let's say he's 2. Yeah, well, that's your job to police that. So, and if she really doesn't want him to take something, she has to protect it, like put it somewhere where he can't, like she might have her own room. She can go and play in her room. She's either going to be disrupted by her brother or she's going to play alone in her own room. Got those two choices. But if he's grabbing stuff, it's your job to correct that. Might take a week or so to correct it, but you got to watch it. It's temporary. All this stuff's temporary, teaching them stuff. But yeah, you can't tell a child not to scream. It's like telling a child not to feel a certain way. You can't do that. It's too broad. It's never going to work. Because you haven't earned that respect. You got to earn it. Remember, it's all you, not the kids.
Okay. So we have Rachel from the United States. I have an almost 3-year-old boy. I've seen your advice on tantrums, but was curious about tantrums in situations where we have to be patient. So for example, if we're at a doctor's office and he wants to leave, I don't know how to handle the situation when he's trying to run away, but we need to stay where we are. I end up wrestling with him and bargaining with him just to get through what we are there to do, and I fear it's diminishing the work we do regarding tantrums.
Yeah, you can still ignore a tantrum, but I would say to the receptionist at the doctor's office, can you please text me when we're ready to go in? He's going to have a tantrum and I'm going to be outside in the parking lot. So I wouldn't disrupt the whole doctor's office. I would have him outside and I'd be texted. That's what I would do. And I'd still ignore the tantrum.
What about in situations where you don't have that option?
What do you mean? Like, give me one.
Oh geez. It was just because the question was specifically like, how do you do it when you have to be patient? So I'm wondering if there's...
Well, I don't know what you mean by patient, though. What do you mean by, I am being patient. I'm waiting. I'm being very patient. I'm waiting for the tantrum to finish before I engage. That's the patience. So I don't understand what you mean by patient.
So just if you're like sitting in a lineup where you like can't leave the lineup.
You're just going to have to go through it. Say, sorry, people. Sorry, I apologize. And just hang on to him if he's trying to run away. You're just going to have to deal with it. It's just ugly. But the better you get at it, the better you get at this at home or when it is an easier area, the better it'll be when you are in a more difficult situation. But, everyone wants to avoid this stuff. You can't. Sometimes you just got to go through it. The bigger the scene, the bigger the lesson. The more awkward it is, usually the better the lesson. It's got to get ugly sometimes, right? That's just part of parenting. They're going to make you look like a fool sometimes, right? You're trying to chase after them. Your hair is all flying behind you. That's just part of having kids. It can be messy. That's part of it. But stay strong and be consistent. You're not a different parent when you're out than when you're home. I was exactly the same mother everywhere. I was 100% predictable. Wasn't I?
Yeah.
100%. My personality never changed no matter where we were. I'm like that in my personal life. I'm like that as a parent. I'm the same everywhere. Yeah. Don't change your personality and your parenting style just because you're out in public. What I used to say, my son had tantrums, and I remember one time it was somewhere where I couldn't control it. Like I just had to hang on to him and let him scream. I wasn't looking at him. So what I said, people were kind of clicking their tongues at you like they do, right? So I just said, "Oh, kid for sale. Does anyone want a kid? Actually, I'll pay you." And then people around started laughing, and it was all good. And then he got embarrassed because everyone was laughing, so he ended up stopping having a tantrum.
Okay, so we have one final question. So Julia from Germany. Hitting is a rule on the behavior board. Child is 4 years old. She hits while throwing a tantrum. Should we play with her first after she calmed down and then go for her consequence, or consequence first and then play?
Okay, after she's finished with the tantrum, you never mention a tantrum because there's no point. Tantrum isn't bad behavior. A tantrum is a loss of emotional control at not getting what they want, when they want, and how they want it. That's why you ignore it, because you don't want to feed that stuff. But if they hit during a tantrum, as soon as they're finished with the tantrum, then you say, "Oh, okay, let's go to the board." And you go to the board and you say, "Okay, your rule was no hitting, and you hit. You only discuss the hit, not the tantrum." And then you say, "Okay, and here's your consequence."
Perfect. I think just to end off the podcast, unless you have anything else specifically,
No.
maybe talk about the reason why BratBusters is called BratBusters.
Okay, I do get asked this, not so much anymore, but I used to a lot. About 20 years ago, when I was considering starting this business, I went to this, what do they call, a focus group, where you throw ideas out and people vote on them. And we'd gone through this training for a couple of weeks. It was a government-funded training for people who were starting their own businesses. It was fantastic. They brought in all these specialists about accounting and marketing and all this stuff. This is like 20 years ago. Anyway, it was fantastic. So we had this focus group. It was the same 20 people. So we all had ideas for our business name, and we hadn't started our businesses yet. So BratBusters was one of mine. And because I have a sense of humor, I just thought it was funny. So, and also the teenagers I worked with used to say, "You're always busting us brats." So that's another reason why I did that. So anyway, I just thought it was funny. Anyway, we went around and there was this woman in the group, and don't cut this out. I know you're going to want to cut this out. There was a woman in the group. She was very, very opposite to me. I don't think I saw her laugh once. She wasn't very engaging with people, and she was very judgmental. She did not like the word BratBusters at all. She said, and she closed her eyes when, you know, the type, they close their eyes when they talk. "Well, you know, Lisa, I really didn't like," you know, that kind of voice. And she goes, I take huge offense to the word BratBusters. I just think it's horrible. And I said right out loud, "BratBusters it is." So I thought, if she hates it, I don't want her anywhere near me. I never want to work with someone like her. So she just sort of cinched the deal. It was her. And everyone laughed, of course. She hated my guts, but that's okay. I didn't like her either. But anyway, that's where it came from, is really she kind of cemented it.
What is your thought on the word brat in general?
I never use it. I just thought it was funny. And it was really the teenagers. I would never use that word. It's labeling someone. And, you know, if kids are acting out, I just look at the parents. It's never the kid. It's always the parents. So what I used to say is actually the brat busting is I call the parents the brats. Ha ha ha. Well, whatever. I don't really care. No one ever asks about the name anymore. But that's where it came from. Basically from the teenagers. I was always busting brats. That's what they said. And then that woman, the sourpuss, she's the one who really cinched it for me. So
You say no one asks, but I look at your DMs and people ask.
oh, well, I never see my DMs, so you do. Oh, okay, well, that's where it came from. It's just supposed to be funny. And I often say, you know, if you don't have a sense of humor, you're probably never going to like me anyway. So, you know, that's okay. I'm okay with that. I never wanted to appeal to everybody, but the people that I can help that are going to follow me, then I care. You know what I'm saying? Like some people just are never going to follow me anyway. And if the name turns them off, I'm never going to be for them anyway. So
I do find it interesting, though, if I ever meet someone new, and you and I are slightly different personalities.
very.
And so they ask me part of what I do for work. And I go, I just do marketing. And oh, what's the business called? The business is called.
You do not. Do you really hesitate? Oh, that's so funny.
Yep.
Yeah. Whereas I'm proud of it. I just think it's funny. I had it on my van for years, BratBusters. We used to call it the Bratmobile. And I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, I guess
That's
we've
all.
never talked about that, but yeah.
No. Yeah.
More because then I have to explain, and I'm like, it's meant to be funny, and
Yeah, but like I said, if people, you know, most people that I work with, I love the name, they just get it right away. It's just funny. Like there's lots of buster, you know, business busters, and I just thought, oh, BratBusters. What are you going to call it? Disrespectful child busters? Besides, I'm not teaching kids anyway. I'm teaching parents.
okay, I think that will wrap it up there.
Okay, that's good. Thanks so much for your time, and we'll be back again with the next podcast. Happy parenting. Bye now.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're ready to dive deeper, check out BratBusters.com to learn more about the behavior board, parenting courses, and private one-on-one coaching with Lisa. If you've enjoyed the show so far, we'd love it if you could take a moment to follow, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more parents just like you. The information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional advice. Lisa is a parenting coach, mom, and grandmother. She is not a licensed psychologist or counselor. Her services do not replace the care of psychologists or other healthcare professionals. For a full disclaimer, please visit BratBusters.com/disclaimer.